Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here, MD bodybuilder, back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about how to warm up. Warming up is one of the most common topics I get asked about in the comments, and today we're going to shed some light on the topic. This is pretty controversial in bodybuilding, and people will often argue about what's necessary in your warm-up. Knowing what's important to include in your warm-ups can help increase the productivity and safety of your workouts, and knowing what you don't necessarily need can save you time. Quick outline for today, we're going to start off by talking about the purpose of warming up. Then we'll touch on cardio briefly, we'll talk about stretching, then we'll talk about specific prehab, and lastly, we'll go on to give you a proper warm-up protocol. If you've been enjoying my content, make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about the purpose of warming up. Warming up does a few things for us. Preparing your muscles to lift heavy loads in a specific manner and practicing your technique will help you prevent injuries. Next, warming up will give you technique practice. Gradually working up in weight using the exercises that you're going to lift in will make sure that your technique is locked in when you move on to heavy weights. The third point here is that a good warm-up will help increase your performance. This partly ties into our last point about technique practice. If your technique is better on your heavy sets, you will have improved performance. Gradually working up in weight will also prime your muscles to lift heavy. This is called potentiation, and it's basically where you activate your neuromuscular system so it fires in an efficient way. This will allow you to perform more reps or lift more weight overall, which will increase your total amount of productive volume and thus indirectly help hypertrophy. Lastly, a good warm-up will mentally prepare you, and going into your work sets with a good mental state can also help you to perform better. Now I want to emphasize that a good warm-up will achieve all the goals that we talked about, and that's really all you need to do. This will depend somewhat on the person, but my overarching recommendation is to warm up enough that you achieve the goals we talked about. First of all, let's touch on cardio. A lot of people will say that you need to do an extensive cardio warm-up before you lift. I think there's nothing wrong with doing cardio before you warm up, but it's not absolutely necessary. If you do want to include cardio, you can include an optional 5 to 10 minute session before your lifting workout. Now let's talk about stretching. This is another controversial topic in bodybuilding. Briefly, dynamic stretches are those where your body moves through space, and in static stretches, you're holding the stretch in place. My stance is that stretching is not absolutely necessary before bodybuilding workouts. The reason I don't suggest an extensive cardiovascular and athletic warm-up before bodybuilding training is that resistance training just isn't that intense on the grand scheme of athleticism. We do lift pretty heavy weights at certain times. However, we're not really using really high velocities or a great deal of power. So the risk of injury is low as long as you're using good technique. Now, in terms of stretching, I don't think there's anything wrong in doing some optional dynamic stretches, especially if you're feeling stiff. Now, I would recommend avoiding static stretching before you work out. If you do too much static stretching, you can actually decrease your body's power output. And if you're not able to lift as well, you won't accumulate as much volume, which is going to have a negative effect on hypertrophy. Moving on to prehab. Depending on what kind of aches and pains you're dealing with, you may want to include specific work for particular injuries, which might include specific mobility or physio exercises. Now, the one thing I will recommend for everyone, even if you're already healthy, is to do some rotator cuff work before heavy pushing. The rotator cuff is one of the most common sites where bodybuilders will run into issues. So, especially if you have rotator cuff problems, I'd recommend fitting in 1 or 2 sets of internal and external rotation. You can do these with a cable. Internal rotation is where your arm is coming towards your body, and external rotation is where it moves away. Another nice choice for external rotation would be face pulls. Face pulls will give you the added benefit of hitting your rear delts. A lot of people complain that my programs don't include direct rear delt training. So there you go. Alright, now let's move on to talk about my actual warm-up protocol. First of all, I recommend that people start off with their biggest, heaviest compound movement for a muscle group. And you'll definitely want to warm up properly for this first exercise. I recommend starting off with a light set of 5 to 10 reps. For a lot of people, this might just be the bar, and for more advanced people, it might be, say, 1 plate. Using the actual exercise you're going to be performing is the most efficient way to warm up for bodybuilding training. Some people will argue that you need specific mobility work, but practicing the movement using the full range of motion that you will be completing actually does serve as some mobility. And if you're feeling stiff, you can always do more reps with this first light weight. Next, you're going to do an intermediate set of about 3 to 5 reps, and this will be with a weight somewhere in between this first light weight and your actual working weight. Remember that the goals of the warm-up are to feel safe, prepared, and technically secure. Once you hit these checkpoints, you're going to be ready for your working weight. After this intermediate set, you might be ready for your working weight depending on how much you lift, But if you're lifting with heavier weights, you'll want to include some sets of 1 to 2 reps that bridge the gap moving up to your working weight. The number of these bridging sets will depend on how much you actually lift. For example, if your working weight is 135 pounds, you won't need as many working sets as if you were, say, lifting 400 pounds. The last one of these 1 to 2 rep sets should be within around 5 to 10% of your actual working weight. And this will help to prime your body for optimal strength output. You want to be warming up enough so that you feel that you're performing well from your first working set. If you find that you pick up your working weight and your first few reps feel really heavy, it means you haven't done enough warming up. After your first main movement for a muscle group, for subsequent exercises, you probably won't need this first really light set, and you can just jump onto this intermediate set. Since your body will already be warmed up from the prior exercise, you won't need as much warming up for subsequent exercises. In terms of rest periods between your warm-up sets, you shouldn't need too much, but basically just enough so that you're not out of breath and that you're feeling prepared for your next warm-up set. So that's my protocol for warming up. Hope that cleared up a few things. Remember that the goals here are to feel safe, locked in your technique, and ready for optimal performance. And once you achieve those goals, you're set to go. Instead of doing really long, drawn-out warm-ups, I recommend that people just save the time or actually do more sets of their working exercises. If you haven't found your optimal volume, you might benefit from adding more. I just wanted to take a moment to officially announce that I will be partnering with MASS, or Monthly Applications in Strength Sport, is an expert research review done by Eric Helms, Greg Knuckles, Eric Trexler, and Mike Zordos. These guys are pillars in the field of bodybuilding and strength sport, and they're the kind of guys that I learned from. They summarize all the best bodybuilding and strength research that comes out every month into short, concise articles, audio roundtables, and videos. Once you sign up, you'll get access to all of the prior issues of MASS. So hit the link in the description below to check it out. This is my affiliate link, so I will get a small commission when you sign up using it. I've turned down dozens of brand deals up till now, but this is finally something that I can really get behind. So check out that link to support my channel and take your knowledge to the next level. If you want to see what the content inside MASS is like, I'll include a link in the description below that lets you download a free PDF sample. I personally really like the audio roundtables because I can listen to them while I'm in the car or getting ready or doing something else. As you know, I'm all about efficiency. That's all for now, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like the video and leave me a comment below. I'm really good about answering every single one of my comments, so you'll definitely hear back from me. In particular, what's your warm-up protocol? Let me know. If you're in your first 1 to 2 years of serious training and you're looking for a program, check out these bodybuilding programs that are science-based and designed for beginners. I walk you through step-by-step how I designed each program. If you've been getting value from my channel, make sure you subscribe and share the channel with your fitness friends so they can benefit from it too. See you next time.